Greetings to all. Um, this message is intended for all the people in the world, people in Africa, in the Americas, in Asia, in Australia, and the Antarctic. Okay, so the topic of this speech is about love, exquisite beauty, longevity, perfect health, healing, and physical, moral, and spiritual force. How do you get these? In fact, the Mahabharata, which is one of the founding texts, sacred texts of the Indian wisdom, it says that we must have a vegetarian diet, which excludes cruelty inflicted to animals. To give examples of these recommendations, you have celebrities, for example, such as Victoria Beckham, Brad Pitt, Jude Law, Demi Moore, Tina Turner, Julia Roberts, Richard Gere. They all are beautiful people, and it's not, the common point between these people is not Botox, but it's the vegetarian diet. The message I am going to give you is central because it shares a part of the message of given by masters in the athletic field, in the field of politics, philosophy, spirituality, in the arts and letters sector, and also in the scientific field. Okay, and prevention and treatment, the treatment of many diseases can be achieved by a change in our way of life. Okay, so I wanted to ask you a question, which is a challenge, in fact. How can you as a citizen of the world, how can you help feed the 9 billion people that we are going to be in the world in some time from now? And how can you prevent and help eradicate famine, the famine which affects more than 870 million people in the world? The solution is to become vegetarian. This solution is given by the Indian wisdom, but it is also given by vegetarian associations throughout the world. For example, you have Mata Amritanandamayi Devi, who is called Amma. She's a known as the Hugging Saint. She has comforted more than 26 million people in the world, and she advocates vegetarianism. She says that the only way to peace is through love and compassion. And she says love and compassion includes all beings. So she has she has a charitable activity which gives advice at the UN. Okay, so what are the 8 arguments or the 8 reasons to go vegetarian? The first reason is an ethical reason. Animals are not killed anymore. If you look at the documentary Earthlings, you will see the cruelty and the violence inflicted to the animals. It's very horrible. The animals are conscious. They have feelings. For example, the fish, they have a personality. They are fun-loving. They are curious. Experiments were conducted on chimpanzees and dolphins, and they were able to give the answer, I don't know, along with the answers yes and no. The second argument is an economic one. Meat is twice as expensive as, or more than twice as expensive as vegetables or beans and cereals. So with the money that we can save, we can send this money to people who suffer from hunger throughout the world. The third argument concerns morals and psychology. The tension and anxiety that the animals have felt throughout their lives when they were slaughtered is absorbed by the people who eat the meat of these animals. According to the yoga perspective, a vegetarian diet makes you less aggressive, and you can make research on the experiments that were conducted on the prisoners who were given a vegetarian diet, and they were less violent. The fourth argument is a medical one. The American Association of Dietetics and the Dietetists of Canada, they say that the vegetarian and the vegan diets are whole diets. They are nutritionally adequate for all stages of life, from pregnancy to lactation, childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and even for athletes. A friend naturopath of mine said that sometimes the performance of some athletes is even better when they are vegan. many diseases of our civilizations can be prevented and even treated thanks to vegetarian and vegan diets. Diseases such as cancer, diabetes, weight control. The vegan and vegetarian diets help us to control our weight, hypertension, cardiovascular diseases, etc. If you make research on your own, you go to the site, you go on the site PubMed, P-U-B-M-E-D, and you type the disease you are looking for, and plus you type vegan or vegetarian diets, and then you will find interesting articles that will say that these diets can protect and even cure the diseases. It's very interesting. I made research on arthritis, degenerative diseases. It's very interesting. The fifth argument is philosophical one and a scientific one. Greek philosophers such as Plato or Socrates were vegetarians. Albert Einstein was also a vegetarian, and Herbert Reeves, who is a Franco-Canadian astrophysicist, tells us that if all the people in the world were ate meat, just as the Westerners do, only 1/3 of the population of the world would be fed. So it's just not a sustainable diet. The sixth argument is an ecological one. 50%. No. In 50 years, the rainforests, which are chopped down to be used to raise cattle, they will disappear at this rate. 15 times more water are needed to produce 1 pound of meat as compared to 1 pound of crops. And the water footprint tells us that 40% of the world population suffers for at least 1 month of water shortage. And also 15 kilos of 15 pounds of cereals are needed to produce 1 pound of meat. So it's not sustainable. The meat industry with the methane gases, they produce more pollution or more greenhouse gases, which produce the global warming. They produce more greenhouse gases than all the transports. The seventh argument is a political one, because there is a risk of war that can be. It's possible that wars break out because of food shortages. Countries can go to war for the natural resources of other countries. This is written in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's the sacred text, which is very ancient and which follows the Bhagavad Gita. The wise woman Amma says that we should read the Bhagavad Gita, but also a French philosophy professor who tell his students to read the founding texts of the different religions, such as the Tao Te Ching, Confucius, the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, or the Quran. Okay, so we the food supplies of the world are 4 days ahead. It means that if there are more ecological disasters or issues, there is a possibility of for us to lack natural resources. The eighth argument is a religious or a spiritual argument. Jesus, for Christians, said in the Gospel of the 12 Apostles that he had come to end the offerings of flesh and blood, and that if we did not stop eating flesh and blood and offering them, then God's wrath will not cease in us. Bhakti Ananda Goswami, he is a historian of religions. He is the administrator of St. Francis of Assisi Ecumenical Retreat on Facebook. He's a Hindu, Buddhist, Christian monk with religious roots. And he says that Jesus was a vegetarian, and that there is a problem of mistranslations. For example, meat does not necessarily mean flesh, but it can also mean solid food. I also read that there can be mistranslations of the word seaweed fish, which is a seaweed, and it has been mistranslated as fish. If it's possible, I'd like to tell you about my experience. Mike Tyson said that he was on the brink of death, and the vegan diet just saved him. He had arthritis. My own experience is that I became a vegetarian at about 20, because I first saw a gun, a real gun, and I understood what it was to be an animal which was hunted as a prey. So I became a vegetarian, but unfortunately I was ill-informed, so I suffered from depression because I lacked omega-3s, which can be found in a tablespoon of rape oil, or 8 almonds, or walnut oil, or walnuts, simply walnuts. So this information is given in a health magazine on the French TV. and the brain does not produce naturally omega-3s, so we must get them from from what we eat. So I became a vegetarian again at about 30, thanks to Bhakti Ananda Goswami, who said that there is no compromise possible, we must be vegetarians. It's for our good on every level. So I made research and I found that vegan and vegetarian diets were very good on all aspects of life. And so when I became a vegetarian again, I felt like I was rejuvenated. I felt like I was 10 years younger, and when I became more vegan, thanks to the French Vegetarian Association, which gave me the information that cows and male chicks were slaughtered in order for us to have eggs and milk, because the male chicks cannot lay eggs; they are crushed. So I became when I became more vegan, I also felt like I was 10 years younger. So it was really for me a fountain of youth. And what's interesting was that Professor Dean Ornish, who is the director of the Institute of Preventive Medicine in California, he led a team of American researchers who found in 2008 that the vegan diet and exercise were a fountain of youth. He says a major change in your life can be necessary if you really want to find the fountain of youth for yourself. Okay, so I wanted to talk again about celebrities who are vegetarians. Spiritual leaders or masters such as Confucius, the Buddha, Saint Francis of Assisi, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, political figures who are vegetarians. You have Bill Clinton, Abraham Lincoln, Mahatma Gandhi, and Martin Luther King. He was the leader of the civil rights movement for the Afro-Americans in the 1960s. He was a reverend. Scientists such as Darwin, Nikola Tesla, Thomas Edison, Leonardo da Vinci, writers such as George Bernard Shaw, Percy B. Shelley, Tolstoy, Voltaire. As for actors and singers, you have Pamela Anderson, Justin Timberlake, Avril Lavigne, Emily Deschanel from the series Bones, Chris Martin from the group Coldplay, Madonna, Michael Jackson, Alicia Silverstone, the actress. Many people are vegetarians. Tobey Maguire from Spider-Man, what's her name? Natalie Portman, who played in Star Wars. You have also a shaman, a Swiss shaman. Laurent Hubli is a vegan. Okay, so what is the basic vegan diet? I would like you to not be afraid. The vegan diet, you have to have an amount of beans and an amount of cereals. The amino acids in the beans and the amino acids in the cereals combined together, they make up the vegetarian proteins, which are the equivalent of the proteins that you find in meat. This is a doctor who's a nutritionist who says this. You may need to eat algae. The vitamin B12 can be bought in vials in pharmacies or drugstores, or enriched food. You can eat nuts for calcium. Fruits, of course, vegetables. You can also have raw diets. They are very healthy too. You can eat also tofu steaks, but you have to check with the doctor if you are allergic or not to all this food. A recommendation for you, if you want to, if you cook your beans, you have to soak them in water for 12 hours the day before. When you cook the beans, you can save time when you use a pressure cooker. From 1 hour and a half, you can reduce the time to 30 minutes. You have to throw away the water you soaked the beans into, and then you boil for 10 minutes the beans, and then you throw away the water to eliminate fermentation in the body, and then you cook for the for half an hour. Yes. In the pressure cooker. All the traditional dishes can be turned into vegetarian or vegan diet meals. If you want recipes, you can go to the PETA site, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I will give you information on the information bar below the video. I will also a friend naturopath tell us to read the China study, which is the most comprehensive international study about nutrition and its long-term effect on health. It gives a startling conclusion that eating meat and drinking milk considerably and very clearly increases cancer and cardiovascular diseases. I also invite you to contact the vegetarian associations of your countries. You can watch the film Earthlings, like I told you before. I'd like to finish this speech by quoting many celebrities, such as James Cameron, who directed Avatar, the movie, the film, and he also directed Titanic or Terminator. He says that it's like he's been sleeping and he has awoken from a dream, and he says we are all like sleepwalkers, and if we don't wake up, if we don't adopt a vegan diet, we are going to fall off a cliff. Bill Gates is also trying to find to produce fake meat so that we can feed the planet without depleting the resources of the earth. The co-founders of Twitter are also investing in a meat-free future. Dexter Scott King, who is the son of Reverend Martin Luther King, says that a vegan diet helped him reach or get a more elevated state of consciousness and spirituality. The APSARES, which is the French Physicians Committee for Responsible Nutrition, they say that if we follow these recommendations, it's going to be a high stake and a major issue for the improvement of the health of people in the whole world, in fact. Albert Einstein said that nothing would be more beneficial for human health, and nothing will increase more the chances of survival of life on Earth than the evolution toward a vegetarian diet. Mahatma Gandhi said that according to his experience, truth with a big T is followed only by the adoption of ahimsa, which is complete non-violence. The Mahabharata says if you want to attain supreme peace, you must adopt a diet which does not include any flesh consumption. And like I said before, like I told you before, Amma says that the only way to peace is through love and compassion. So, to conclude, if you want to save the animals, if you want to save yourself, your family, your friends, if you want to live a beautiful, long, strong, and healthy life, vegetarians, they live 5 to 7 years longer than people who eat meat. And if you want to save the planet, like Paul McCartney says, please go vegetarian and vegan. And please share this message with your friends. I hope this message is going to be beneficial for all, and may all beings be happy. Thank you.